Alright, fishy folks, we are walking into the basement of a fellow YouTuber, Justin from H20 Plants. Say hi, Justin.
Let's go. Hi, Justin. What's going on?
And this is his dog, Honey.
Yep.
She loves me. Say hi. Don't look at the camera. We're going to do a tour of his fish room and maybe have some jokes. And Justin does things quite a bit differently than I do. His tanks all look immaculate with many, many plants. Whereas my tanks look like crap and only have Java moss in them. So what do we got here there, Justin?
Well, one thing about this tank, I can't take full credit for it. This was actually done by one of my professional aquascaping buddies who competes in numerous competitions.
Professional aquascaping buddies.
Yeah.
I just have buddies I eat tacos with.
Well, we eat tacos sometimes. But yeah, no, he put together this wood sculpture and did all this because we wanted to do a professional aquascape with goldfish, because many people say, oh, goldfish eat plants, you can't put them in with certain things or do certain things with them, and this tank is a testament that it can be done.
Wow.
Literally, this is a zero maintenance tank. I don't clean the glass, I don't do water changes, I don't vacuum the gravel. This is how it is, and it's been this way since setup.
It's like all my tanks. I don't have gravel to vacuum, and I have automatic water changes. So, what are those delicious-looking fish in the back?
So those are zebra danios.
Longfin zebra danios?
Yeah, longfin zebra danios.
Those are pretty sweet looking.
They are. I actually confused them for white cloud minnows. Don't ask me how. But well, I wanted to originally put white cloud minnows in here, but they're working out. A lot of people said that they would nip the fins of the goldfish, but there's been zero fin nipping. So.
Nice. And is that a pleco down there?
That is a Bristol nose pleco.
Which is hiding.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, looking for an algae wafer. And then
Go ahead.
The one thing to note about this is a lot of people say you can't put a common goldfish with a fancy, and I have them in here and they've been just fine.
What? You're breaking the rules of the internet?
So
that's okay. I once put a goldfish in with angels just because people said it can't be done, and then I gave them the middle finger. So
yeah.
What do you got down low?
So this is an assassin snail breeding tank. Essentially, it's the water's a bit dirty just because this tank is. I'm leaving it ideal for snails. You know, just I'm not doing anything with it. Just topping it off, letting them be and do their own thing, and hopefully, you know, I put 100 assassin snails in here. Hopefully, I pull out 200 in a couple months.
That would be pretty neat.
So yeah.
So I see an air pump. Are all these tanks run, and filters over there? Are all these tanks run individually?
All these tanks are run individually, except for a couple of the other ones, which we'll get into shortly.
Okay.
And yeah, so each tank kind of has their own filtration for the most part.
All right. Where should we go next?
Well, I guess we could start with this mess of a tank.
Now, see, I was thinking how beautiful this thing looked, and he's going mess.
It's a mess right now because I got a bunch of plants in from one of the aquatic plant groups that is local to New Jersey, and they had a bunch of plants that they got from this guy's house that's disabled. So they go out and they maintain his fish tank, and they just had a bunch of trimmings, and I like to help out. I buy it off of them, essentially give them a little money to help fund the club and, pay them for their time.
What club is it?
The New Jersey Gardeners Association.
Yeah, I know that one.
So a lot of these plants that are floating here are from there, but without these floating there, it would look relatively nice. There's about 80 different species in this tank of plants.
That's a lot of species.
Yeah, all different kinds, mostly stem plants, some carpeting plants. It's a little dirty, I gotta clean this one, but...
With a couple of black neons?
Yeah, black neons. I was told those are emperors, but I don't think they're emperors. I think they're regular black neons.
They could be emperors for all I know. I'm not a neon guy.
Yeah, neither am I. I actually adopted those from a friend who was getting out of the hobby, so that's, yeah.
And this tank also has a canister filter?
It does have a canister filter down here with a CO2 injection. All the tanks here, with the exception, can't speak, of the goldfish tank, they all have CO2 injection. So, and that's just because a lot of these plants we grow in this particular tank need CO2. And I have tons of other plants that don't need CO2, but we like to give it to them just so they grow and are healthy when we ship them out. And
so you sell plants?
Yes.
Online?
If you couldn't tell. Yes, online, on our website. It all started from doing it in Facebook groups, and now we have a website of our own.
And what's the name of that website?
Well, it's right right there.
Oh, H20Plants.com.
Yeah, there you go.
Guys, check it out. Seems like there might be a Facebook group and probably Instagram and maybe Twitter as well.
Twitter, yeah, but we're not active really on there. It's mostly Instagram and Facebook because who wants to talk about fish when you can show fish tanks?
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Twitter isn't ideal for that, I feel.
What do you got down here?
So this is some Bucephalandrid that we got in. If you're not familiar with Bus, it's a rhizome type plant like Anubis, except much more colorful and different textures and stuff like that. So these are just a couple clumps we still have left from what we got in. Just chilling down there.
Okay. And these racks that you have, where'd you get those?
These are from Lowe's. If anybody's looking for a stand for a 40-gallon breeder, these are ideal. They're nice. Personally, I wouldn't do them again. I would actually just build a wooden stand, but they're a quick setup, even though the racking system that we're going to take a look at took me like 8 weeks to build. These took me 8 minutes. So.
Nice. 8 minutes is definitely a plus.
Yeah.
What is this beauty over here?
So this is my new kind of project and pride and joy. This is my 55-gallon that I've had pretty much since I really got more into the hobby. And we recently lost a lot of the fish that were in here, and now we restocked it. There's some things in here, I don't know when this video is going to air, that even my channel doesn't know about yet. So a lot of these tanks are very behind on my channel, but there's some yellow 24 karat black, or 24 karat golden backline Sakura shrimp in here. There's also some crystal, or celestial pearl danios. There's the shrimp, yeah. We got a couple saddled so far, so that's good. I'm hoping to see some being buried soon.
Nice, nice, nice.
We also got the celestial pearl danios, got some autosynclus, some pygmy corridoras, which you can see there on the leaf of that crypt back there. Some autosynclus as well.
I see some autos. Is this the tank that crashed?
Yeah, this is the tank that the CO2 unfortunately got out of control and wound up killing all the fish that were in here originally.
That was a sad video to watch, but a sad video to make as well.
Yeah, it actually made me have to skip putting out a video for a week because I'm like, I just can't bear to edit this video. And
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
All right, shall we go this way?
Yep.
So there's a shelf of some product, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we got our fertilizers we sell, some plant anchors, some root tabs, and just other miscellaneous supplies that we have because even as big as this basement is, I'm very short on room.
So I just got a shipment of fish, an order from eBay that I bought, and for the first time it was packed in this. I like this. I use cellulose.
Okay.
The stuff that the loose stuff.
Right, I saw that.
I may be switching to that. I gotta check that out.
It works. It's ideal, but when you're shipping 100 orders a week, it gets very time consuming. So I'm looking for an alternative.
Well, luckily I don't sell 100 orders a week. You know, the 4 or 5 I do is fine.
Right, right. Well, fish are a lot more lucrative than plants. So.
All right, what do we have in here?
So this is just pretty much this whole rack is mainly just a holding tank for lots of plants that we get in from suppliers.
Let's take a look at the rack first. Is this the rack that took you 8 weeks to build?
Pretty much 8 weeks, maybe even longer. I don't even know. I have all the footage and I haven't even bothered to look at it because it's just so. I did a lot of it live streaming, like on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube at the time. And now it's just like I don't even want to go back and edit a video for it. It's just so much. So these tanks, actually, what I was saying about the filtration is these tanks don't have any sort of kind of filtration that I guess you would see out there. At least I haven't seen anything like this. So this is like a sump system, right? But the sump doesn't have any filter media. The only thing that it has is some lava rock rubble in the overflow here. Mm-hmm. That's just to help with a little beneficial bacteria, but because these aren't really stocked with fish, mostly plants, there is some fish in here, but it's not overstocked. You know?
Right.
They're mostly algae eaters. They're there to help maintain the tank. The water just circulates, and it seems to work. You know, it was an experiment of mine, and I said, you know, is this going to work or not? And it's so far working.
So, does the water drain from the top tank to the bottom tank and then back to the top?
Correct. So it comes up over here through that return line there. We got a pond pump inside the bottom tank, And
a little homemade spray bar.
Yep, homemade spray bar. All
like
this was
the homemade
DIY.
spray bar. I love DIY.
Yeah.
So, essentially, it's 4 systems together.
4 systems together, correct. They all have CO2 injection, which is used by that thing down there, that black tube. And this was the first one I did, so I learned a couple lessons along the way. I wouldn't do the hard piping again that I did coming out of the tank.
Right.
Right, that was a no-no. On the rest of them, I used a flexible PVC, which makes it a lot easier to
make changes.
Yeah, and move things around and clean the filter, or clean the pond pump out, because to clean that one out is a bit of a pain. So are there 2 drains? So yes, so there's a regular overflow, and then there's an emergency.
Okay.
And that's just because, obviously if the pond pump's going and it's draining and for some reason it gets clogged, which has gotten clogged a couple times, the overflow has come in a lot of, in emergency cases, it's come in handy, so.
And then that's the fancy CO2 system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is top secret, though. You have to.
I have no idea. Please don't look.
You have to put a top secret thing over it.
All right. So these tanks are all 40 breeders.
Correct. All 40 breeders.
And with built-in overflows or DIY?
DIY overflows. I did everything here essentially myself.
Very nice.
And the first time doing it because I had no idea what I was doing. So. Yeah.
But that's the best way to learn, right?
It is. You got to learn as you go. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to crack one of these tanks drilling them. And it was actually very easy.
Did you crack a tank?
Nope.
Nice.
Chipped a little bit around the thing, but you can't even see it because the bulkhead.
Chipped? What the heck?
Yeah. So.
I've cracked a few tanks, but mostly, paper thin 5s or 10 gallons.
Right. That's what everybody was telling me. They're like, it's a 40-gallon. It should go through. No, easy. It's thick glass. So I was like, all right, let's give it a try.
Yeah. All right. So what do we got down here floating?
So in these bins right now, these are actually S-repins. They're a type of carpeting plant. And these I actually, like I said before, I buy a lot of things from hobbyists. So in our local groups and on Facebook, they normally reach out to me now and they know because I'll buy it. Like if you have, a mess of S-repins or a carpeting plant or stems and you just want to get rid of them, I'll give you some money towards it and you just ship them or I'll pick them up or something like that if you're local. And that's what we did with this. A guy has a 20-gallon long with just S-repins. That's it. That's the only tank he has, and he just trims it all up. It's like 400 S-repin stems at a time, and I'm like, I'll take them all.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And then you grow them and sell them.
Well, I just resell them as is because they're beautiful. Like these things are huge. Like I can't even grow them this nice. Like that's one stem from his trimming, which I imagine there was another,
right.
2 inches of stem there. So mine grow much more short and compact than the tank that I have them in. These are nice. So.
All right. Well, that's good. So what's next?
Well, I mean, a lot of these, we just started selling. So we typically like to sell a lot of submerged grown stem plants, but because we can only keep up with demand so much, a lot of people were saying, why don't you just sell some immersed grown? So that's what some of these are from our local nursery. Typically, they will melt a little more than like a traditional grown in the tank stem, but you'll get a lot for it. So that's something that we've added recently because a lot of people requested it. And then pretty much we go down and we have potted plants. This tank's a bit of a mess. This was one we didn't get to clean this week, so it's on the schedule of next week. Because having this many tanks, it's not just me maintaining them anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Help in the fish room.
Help in the fish room. That's the best way to do it, because you get to enjoy all the fish tanks and you don't have to maintain them as much. Flat. Yep. So then over here it's just more, this is more of a little grow out tank. We have some rare type plants like Ireo Vietnam back there. And it's
all right, so for noobs like me with plants, what's rare?
So this is Ireo Cullen, I think is the pronunciation. I might be wrong. Is a newer type of rare plant in the hobby. It's just been introduced in the last couple of years, along with Bucephalandrid. But this is actually a very easy one, and you could kind of tell I have it under, it's blocked by most of the light here.
Yeah.
And this tank does get CO2, but even without CO2, it'd be fine.
And which one is it?
So that's Ireo Vietnam, and it's this one right here with these green pointy leaves.
Gotcha.
And it for bigger tanks, it's a nice carpeting plant. So it's pretty nice, but I got more of those in from another hobbyist. I was like, hey, I got a ton of these. You want them? So
Cool.
yeah.
So people can just go to your website, look through plants and order, and if they don't see something they want, they can request it.
Yeah, I take suggestions all the time. Like selling plant anchors was not a thing that I'd ever think I was doing. I was like, who the hell would need plant anchors? Turns out a lot of people need plant anchors. So,
do they keep them in their tank that way?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I have plant anchors in all these tanks. They don't, they get lost in the substrate. I just leave them, because we bunch everything up, or they come in with them on like these stems, and they just are all bunched together. So we just leave them.
Okay.
I don't bother fishing them out.
All right. What else?
Well, we have the other side of the room here. Which
What about these two over here?
we should save those for last.
Sorry, save those for last.
Yeah,
Make a mental note. Save those for last.
Those are definitely last.
All right.
So
Just turn the lights on.
Yeah, these because you're throwing off my day and night cycle here.
Sorry.
You came early. So this is these two right here are more holding tanks. Lots of Anubis, lots of Java ferns, moss balls. We've got some bulb plants here that are regrowing because red tiger lotuses are very sensitive. Beautiful red plant, but their leaves are so sensitive they'll come detached easily. So like when we get them in, we try and be as careful as we can, but they break off occasionally.
And what is this?
This is Hornwort right here. You don't have any of this in your fish room?
I don't, but of course I was thinking guppies would love to do the nasty in there.
They would. And I also have some guppy grass in another one. So,
Really?
yeah, if you don't have, I'll give you a couple stems.
We'll have to take them up on that offer.
Yeah. And
So
then,
this looks kind of cool.
yeah, it almost looks like it's aquascaped, but really it's really all just placed in there.
That's kind of how I do it. Just throw them in and hope it looks nice.
Yeah. Just another holding tank, bunch of different species in here. I got some Elodia?
Elodia? Yeah, maybe.
Elodia? I'm horrible at pronunciations.
I'm horrible at speaking, so we're like twins. And these tanks run on canister filters.
Yeah, these are on canister filters mainly because I haven't... ideally, there's going to be another rack setup similar to the other side of the room on this side of the room. So there will be a row of 4 40 breeders, one on top of another. The only problem is my electrical panel needs to be moved with that mess over there before I can do that.
I don't know that I'd move an electrical panel for fish tanks, but
Well,
maybe if you know somebody.
Well, luckily I work for a contractor. So.
And over here,
this is another one, like one of the very first 40 breeders we looked at. Lots of rare stems in here, lots of things regrown. We actually just trimmed and cleaned up this tank the other day, so that's why it's looking a lot better. And I'm trying to get rid of this damn duckweed.
yeah, I've given up trying to get rid of duckweed. I have one 40 breeder in my fish room with, no, it's a 15, sorry.
Right.
It's a 15-gallon tank. It's got one goldfish in it, and the sole purpose is to eat duckweed.
Well, see, the problem is I can't put a goldfish in this tank because he would devour
Everything else.
all of these plants. So my trick to trying to spot treat the duckweed is actually with a turkey baster.
Oh.
And if you want to get a look at that right there.
Look at this.
And then you just suck it up.
And then what do you do with it?
Garbage.
Nice.
So-
Pour bleach on it, burn it.
Yep. Well, if you ever watch my duckweed video, they burned it with a blowtorch.
Really? I'm going to have to link that duckweed video somewhere over here in this general. Alright, so we got rid of all the duckweed. And when I say we, I really mean Justin. I just stood here with the camera looking pretty. So, no more duckweed in this tank
Right.
that you can see. What else?
There's a bunch of different rare mosses here. There's actually a lot of people enjoyed watching my moss video that I did on this. There's, I think, about 40, no, probably like 30 different species of moss in here, all to these ledges.
Mhm.
And
Now, did you make these, or is this something special?
this is something that I actually sell on the website that comes from a manufacturer. It's actually a smaller, privately owned company on the forums and Facebook and all that.
Nice.
And
They look pretty cool for growing moss.
They're great for growing moss. The trick to growing moss fast, everybody asks, it's actually to leave them just like this at the top of the water surface, so they're technically growing immersed, but they're getting all the CO2 from the atmosphere as well as getting indirect light because they're not directly under the light fixture essentially, and they grow the fastest this way. They also like a lot of flow.
So, Java moss, which I have in pretty much every tank, put near the top of the water.
Right.
Indirect light.
Indirect light. Indirect light. There you go. Indirect light.
So, put them in direct light.
No. Indirect light.
So, put them in space. Indirect light.
Yeah, there you go.
So, not under direct light.
Correct.
Wow.
Hooked on phonics for us.
That's a Brian Regan skit. Are you a Brian Regan fan?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's move on then.
Let's.
All right, and down low?
So down low, which is actually a bit of a mess right now, these are tissue cultures that we sell.
Should I not show it? I could edit this out.
No,
Nobody would know.
It's all right. It's all right. So the problem with these is I had these in my fridge. Tissue cultures are okay to be kept cold.
Right.
Just not freezing cold. Well, turns out my fridge wanted to magically turn into a freezer.
Oh.
So it froze, a couple $100 worth of tissue cultures, some of which, like you see here, this is Downoi, all dead. So this is garbage. But some of it actually survived, like this Hydro Japan is looking...
Oh, Hydro Japan. I was just in Japan.
Ah.
Hey, for those of us that don't know what tissue cultures are, what are they?
So tissue cultures are a algae-free, pests-free, and snail-free plant that you can get.
Right.
They do cost more than typical like plants that you've seen in the fish room so far here, but you do get that reassurance that there's nothing in here. They're grown in a sterile environment, and you get a lot out of it because this is a pretty decent amount of the plant. And with the stem plants too, you get, for $15 you get all these, and there's probably about 30 stems in there.
Wow.
So you get a good amount for your money.
And so that one that's $15, what would it be if it wasn't a tissue culture?
So selling them by the stem, typically we sell 3 stems for about $5.
Yeah, so that's probably about right?
Yeah, you get a decent amount. The difference is we grow them in our tanks, so it's way different than like getting an immersed bundle.
Sorry, I see a puppy. I have to film it. Hi, puppy.
She's stealing my spotlight.
You're stealing his spot. Okay. What else? New heater?
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, that's not important. I guess we could take a look at this one over here.
So, hold on, because we're missing this bin of duckweed.
Right. So, believe it or not, people actually want to buy duckweed.
You know what? People have asked me if I can sell them duckweed. I'm like, you can have it.
Yeah. But I just can't deal with a ton of people asking me to buy it, so I just put it on my website for $3 and they get a giant handful of it. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a funny story. I was at we're going this way now?
Yeah.
Okay. I was at an auction and somebody labeled the bag the scientific name of duckweed. And people started bidding on it because they didn't know what it was.
Oh my god, that's a good strategy.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I don't want to mention who did it, Joe, but All right, so this tank is you called it a Fluval Flex?
Yeah, that's the actual name of the tank that Fluval says it in. This is the 15-gallon version.
Now, see, I never buy. The only new tanks I buy if they're $1 per gallon, and I never buy fancy tanks because But this is a pretty nice looking tank.
Like it.
And what do we have inside?
So these are African shell dwellers.
Shellies.
Yes, these are the Similis variation. Much prettier than the multis, in my opinion.
Right.
I know people are going to yell at me and say, "Oh no, they're much better."
Yeah, but they're wrong.
Yeah, they're wrong. Because I keep these, I don't keep the other ones.
And are you breeding them in here, or is this just to look nice?
Well, so spoiler alert from anybody from my channel if you're watching this before I air the video on this.
Uh-oh.
But we do have babies. Literally last night I found 3 babies. I don't know if you're going to be able to get it. Maybe I'll send you my B-roll footage of it to put in the video. But they're super, super tiny. They're literally just probably newly hatched or newly birthed. Or I don't even know what these guys do. I was just like, I need these guys because they're awesome. And so that I did. But this tank looks like a mess right now because it's actually an experiment. A lot of people often ask me what kind of plants can I keep with African cichlids or in a high pH. And I don't have any tanks besides this one now that had high pH. So I didn't know. I like to be able to recommend stuff from experience.
Sure.
So I can only go off what I read online. So I said, you know what, let me toss a couple plants in here, see what happens. So far, I'm growing everything that I put in here just fine in roughly about a 7.88 pH.
Okay, so that's a little high.
Yeah, I mean, it's not super high, but
No.
it's higher than, a lot of people say, oh, well, I have 8. And I'm like, well, you should be okay, but let's see what happens. And, we got some Anubis, some Java Fern, some Water Sprite, some Crypts, some other small carpeting plants that I wanted to test out. They've all been growing fine, so...
And what's the pH in the other tanks?
The pH in the other tanks is going to range anywhere between 6.0 to 7.0, just because we run CO2 on almost all of them.
And CO2 will lower the pH.
CO2 does lower the pH.
All right.
So...
And this pretty cool looking tank.
So this is their future home. Now that they have babies, I don't know if I want to move them just yet.
Right.
Because I'm not a fish breeder. This was my first attempt at breeding fish, and so far success. But I don't want to kill them by moving them too soon, so I'm going to leave them in that tank a bit. And this tank was just set up literally this week, so it's all new. And I don't want to put them in here for one specific reason, and that's because this is not kind of like a cycled or what's the word for it? A ripe tank, I guess, like a
seasoned tank.
Seasoned tank. There you go. So there's no algae in here for the babies to eat.
Right.
There's nothing for them to graze on, essentially. So by putting them in here, I feel that they might not eat enough, even though I do have fry food for them. I just feel like they still would like to graze a lot.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
So I want to leave the light on 24/7 to hopefully build up some algae in this tank for them to eat.
For those of us hardscaping noobs that are looking at this lava rock sculpture in amazement, did you make it?
So I didn't make it. My friend who built the goldfish structure over there.
The professional aquascaper who wins contests worldwide.
Actually, he does not win contests. There's a rule.
Enters contest?
He enters.
Okay.
There's a rule he can't win.
Because he's professional.
No, because he does things that is not traditional, and it's frowned upon in the aquascaping hobby.
Like keeping goldfish and white clouds together, or not white clouds. You think they're white clouds? Danios, yeah.
Danios.
Yeah. Oh no, keeping goldfish in a planted tank.
Well, that too.
That was
and
unheard
also
of.
keeping them with wood. I was told you can't put driftwood in a goldfish tank because it lowers the pH.
Oh yeah.
So.
But you have it over there, so ha.
So ha.
So he built this.
Yeah. So this is a ton of lava rock rubble that's stuck together.
Right.
Along with a couple bigger pieces, and. So I've been inspired by some of these immersed grown setups that people have now, and I really wanted to do one. So he came up with this idea of putting a planter at the top with lava rock that has Monte Carlo growing on it with an actual terrestrial plant. And the thing is, you don't have to water this because the lava rock absorbs and leaches the water into everything. So the goal is to see how it works. We're going to put some more plants in here. I haven't decided on exactly what yet. We may do some moss on the rocks coming down and all of that, but
well, I like it.
I do too. It came out very nice. And the reason why they're going, this is actually a smaller volume of water compared to that tank. However, it's more footprint.
Right.
And Shelleys are solely bottom dwelling fish. They only go, about 8 inches up into the tank. So to have them in such a tall tank makes no sense. Give them more surface area so that way they can be more spread out and they'll be happier in the long run, even though it's a smaller volume of water essentially.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with this thing.
Yeah.
And it's making me interested in Shelleys again.
They're they're my favorite fish out of everything I have in here. They're my favorite tank. They're so interesting to look at.
He said his favorite fish, but I've only seen like 3 different kinds of fish. So
well, listen, I keep a lot of plants, but I got a couple fish, and they've been my favorite out of all the fish I've kept. They're definitely my favorites. So.
Very cool. I see some aqua keeping supplies. We got a non-contact temperature probe. The ever famous and popular API master test kit.
Yep.
And is that a TDS meter?
That is a TDS meter.
That's like a fancy one. I have a cheap one.
That is a fancy one. It works phenomenal. That's actually going to be in a future video for me.
Well, then we won't talk about it because I've already ruined like 6 things for his channel. Yeah.
It's all right.
So we're just going to start with Honey because she looks so cute and happy down here, wagging her tail. All right. So what is this tank?
So another one that my buddy has done. Because I love his way of putting things together. Him and actually another friend of ours did this together. They both put this together. This is actually a dry start method, something that I've never done before. What a dry start method essentially is, it's a way to get plants to establish and grow faster than it would if you were just to throw them in there. And the reason being is because they're allowed to breathe in CO2 from the atmosphere. And what we've done here is this is actually a different type of dry start method that's not too well known out there. A lot of times when you do a dry start method, you have to mist the plants every day with actually more than once a day. You have to do it like twice or 3 times a day.
Okay.
Which I have no time for that. So I'm all for easy, kind of leave it, don't have to worry about it. So what I actually have made is a DIY humidifier here.
Okay.
With a water bottle and an air stone.
Oh, I like it.
And it pumps in air that's humidified, and it circulates back and comes out this exhaust pipe here. And that allows it to be humidified as well as constant airflow, which cuts down on mold growth, because mold will grow if it's not filled. Yeah, so this is...
And what's going to go in here when you're all done?
As far as fish?
Yeah.
Don't know yet.
Okay.
My friend that put this together has an idea of what we should do. I was like, I'm all for it. It's kind of, I'm letting him do his own project here, just because I like his style, and I said, you know what, whatever you want to do, it's fine by me.
So how long will it have to be like this before you can put water in it?
So typically most people let it go for anywhere between 6 and 10 weeks, I think it is. We're at about the 6-week mark, so we could start filling it soon. I'm just waiting on to finalize. I need to get the filter for it. I need to get the CO2 parts that I need, because it will have CO2. And that's really just it. I have everything else, so it's just those, and just kind of waiting on it. It's not like need to be done right now, so
I gotcha.
yeah.
And so this is a very similar tank to what I would see when I was in Japan. What size is it?
This is it's either 90 or 60U. So it's a rimless tank, low iron glass. It's actually got beveled edges, which is really nice. I like this style. They're beveled.
Ooh, so look, they're beveled, which means they're not sharp.
Yeah. And yeah, this is actually my first actual like rimless high grade tank. Can you stop that?
That's what happens when you film live.
You're ruining the video.
Nah, people will love it.
She does this mid live streams whenever I'm live streaming. I'm like, really?
So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys finish in here.
Yeah, it'll look really nice.
Yeah.
The idea is the Monte Carlo that we have growing on the rocks.
Right.
Is going to essentially drape over and hang down. Once it's all grown in. Right now it's still taking some time, but it's converted nicely, even though it looks brown. I don't know how well they're going to be able to see that. But if you take a look down at the bottom there, that's looking very nice.
Oh yeah, that does look nice. And that's Monte Carlo.
That's Monte Carlo.
And what kind of rock is that fancy rock?
This is Dragonstone, which we actually sell as well.
Dragonstone. People, if you like the Dragonstone, hit up the website.
Super easy rock to work with too. Like anybody can use this because it all flows in the same direction. So it's super easy to build a nice looking scape out of it.
Gotcha.
And then over here, if you just want to, for giggles, that one plant right there, each head of that plant is $10 each.
Really?
Yep. That's red downoise. It's fairly rare, but you can see the redness that it has.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a variation of Pogostemon hellfire downoise that has a red.
Pretty cool. What's the black substrate?
This is aquasoil.
Mm-hmm.
This is a piece of twin wall polycarbonate that we kind of molded to hold the aquasoil in.
Okay.
And then we use just regular sand here because the front of the tank won't have any plants in the substrate.
Gotcha. All right, so it looks like we have one tank left.
Yep, this is both a moss holding tank and just like a hospital / retirement tank.
So it's pretty much all my tanks look like this.
Yeah. So these fish got beat up. Like this one got attacked by my killifish that I had in my 55, and he's missing fins, but he's alright. He's swimming around. Also, one of the 2 fish that survived my CO2 gassing are in here. This tetra here and a cherry barb. This is just kind of, you know what, guys, you had it rough. Enjoy life. We'll make it easy for you. And yeah, so it's super easy sponge. I don't even think I have a sponge filter on here. I think it's just an air stone. Okay. So.
All right. So I think we have the best tank I saw on your channel to finish with, right?
Yep. We could go on upstairs and take a look at that.
Now has. That's the dog. So, have your viewers seen that tank in its current state?
Yeah, kind of.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin any more surprises.
Well, pretty much you ruined everything. That's okay.
Well, that's how I roll. All right, so should we go upstairs?
Yep.
Okay, let's go. All right, fishy folks. If you don't know anything about aquascaping, or not an aquascaping person, or are an aquascaping person, this is beauty. So what do we have here?
Well, actually, technically, I guess it's not beauty because it didn't win. Like I said, the ongoing joke, Kevin can't win. Kevin did all these fantastic tanks, but he doesn't win. So this was a tank that he competed with in 2017's Reefapalooza here in New York, or New Jersey. Essentially what it is this is actually about 70 pounds of Dragonstone, probably about 80 different pieces all glued together, cemented together to form this nice big structure here. And then there's another like 40 pounds of Dragonstone on the outside. So his initial scape was he had some plants inside and some small little plants on the outside, nothing really crazy. But when I saw this tank that he did, I was like, I absolutely must have it. So I bought it from him and set it up here. He came and set it up for me. And then I've planted a couple things now here as well. A lot of terrestrial plants like these ferns here.
Right.
And some moss and some other ferns and stuff like that.
Is this the moss from Home Depot?
No, I actually took that out. This is
Okay.
new moss that hasn't been shown on the channel yet. But this is called mood moss, and I don't know if it's gonna make it. It's kind of looking like it will. I don't know.
Okay.
It doesn't like to be fully wet, so it likes to be like it kind of likes to have a dry out period in some cases. So that's why it might work. I don't know if it's actually gonna work though.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Are there any fish in there?
No fish in here. It's out of a 10-gallon tank, there's only about 4.5 gallons worth of water. So I don't know what to put in it. It's either going to be maybe a beta, maybe some small nanofish, or some shrimp.
Shrimp would definitely be cool. A betta would be cool.
Beta would be cool.
Yeah.
I'd be worried about the shrimp like climbing up the rocks though.
Yeah, that could be. I don't know enough shrimp to. I don't know enough about shrimp to
Me either.
give you advice.
Me either.
And what about the steam? That's pretty cool.
So this is
Ooh.
just a fog machine here. There's two of them actually in here. One's running 24/7. The other one kicks on randomly just to give extra. You see here, like it eventually makes its way down, which I guess helps to keep it humid. I've actually been working on a DIY thing that I want to do using airlines, kind of like the humidifier that I showed you, but with the fog. So I'm going to do that same setup with fog and then run airlines around the outside to have it so the fog is actually coming out from inside the rocks.
Looking forward to seeing that. Well,
Yeah.
this is beautiful. And there's water dripping from the rock.
Yep.
Why?
So there's actually aqualifter pumps over here, which you can't really see because they're hidden,
Right.
that are bringing water up, and then it's getting distributed down, and that allows the moss to stay green and healthy without me having to do anything.
Wow. That's my kind of tank where you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care if it didn't win. I'm impressed and I like it.
Yeah, well, that's, when you see a piece of art like this and you're just like, I must have that, it's a living piece of art in my book. It's
Yeah.
my favorite. This is my favorite tank. The Shelleys are my favorite fish, but this is my favorite tank out of any of them.
All right.
So-
Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. So we got rid of all the duckweed. At least we think we did.
Hopefully.
And when I say we, I mean Justin. I just stand by.